All right, so I'm just going to literally talk through a number of the comments and just have a little conversation about these three specific categories of drive. Again, it is duty, pain, and desire. So Gregory Byerline, I know Gregory well. We were on a cycling team together a long time ago, and he said all three in ascending order. And so I responded back and said, so the walking primary drive really is desire? And he said, yeah, he says, actually, reverse that. When I wake up, my primary drive is duty more than pain and desire. So as he thought about it, and that was the point of this survey, this exercise in essence, was to get us really thinking about that. And I think that especially in this, and I always say this when I do Q&As or when I do a survey like this, that the people I'm putting it out to are my audience and friends and family. As I so often we talk about in my True Life podcast, we mention blue zones. We say it so much that I assume people know that. Dan Buettner wrote a book, Blue Zones, about where the healthiest people are, and talked about the reality that it's the culture of health and wellness that really fosters health most, is that culture. So when I talk about a blue zone, I talk about a biased demographic, if you will. So my people I put it out to, my audience, my friends, my family, it's a biased demographic. So understanding that most of them are going to hear that question and want to respond with desire. I know I do, even though I have to realize sometimes I often don't. I mean, if you go to a third world country, that's actually not true. They're actually often so grateful about life in that. But if you go to a harder hit area or demographic, socioeconomic place, people are going to more so immediately respond with pain. It's not an aspiring place, and they're just talking about the reality of their lives, and there is going to be more pain there. But it's just interesting to question Gregory and him come back and go, oh, wait a minute, actually totally reverse that. I get that. Renee Vidor, I think is how you say her last name. She says, while all can apply at different times, most often it's duty. I feel called, and desire. And I admit there are times my mood, feelings fluctuate, and desire can wane for a period of time. Desire often, for us to think about and be cognizant of and be driven by desire, or to put our desire thinking cap on, it often takes reminding. I mean, this is a big part of, my Ziegler show. I twice a month, I talk about the habits. I go through my guests' habits, and they often talk about their morning time. And it's just a key time for reflection. And it can be done anytime. If you can get yourself to do it in the middle of the afternoon, that's awesome. Though usually by then life's flying along and it's hard to do that. If you can do it at the evening time, I know some people who try to do that in the evening, and it is great. I like that concept of going to bed, thinking about desire and gratitude. Though a lot of times by the time I hit the bed, I'm just done, and 5 seconds later, I'm asleep. So I do it in the mornings, and that's a great time to be cognizant of, okay, what am I really doing today? What is my desire? And to focus on that. But it made me realize, desire needs reminding. We have to remind ourselves. We have to coax ourselves often for desire amongst the minutia of life, the busyness of life, the duties to a degree. And pain often we don't need reminding of. We're often so aware of that. We often need distancing of that, or we need to practice gratitude and put the pain aside somewhat. So different efforts. Again, I just like the awareness of knowing, man, pain is always calling your name. It's easy to tune into. Desire is more difficult, which is why we know, statistically, experientially, that with humanity, behavioral psychology, most people respond to pain. Pain is the bigger driver than desire because it's ever present. We're more aware on it. We tend to focus on it more. Jessica Smith Moyer, and I've gotten to know Jessica over the past months, just via Facebook and whatnot. She actually went to Ziegler Legacy certification and got certified there. But she is a fitness coach. She has her own, I guess you'd call it a gym, but a brick and mortar place that she teaches from. But she said all three. I do feel so overwhelmed with the mandates. Now she's talking as of this recording, which is December 2020, amongst COVID-19 and pandemic and whatnot. So she said, with the mandates and rules and just trying to keep things as normal as possible for my family, she said, I spend a lot of time with duty and pain. And desire, though, she kind of has to drum up. She says, I do have a desire to finish my book and grow my speaking career. And I've gotten to be more and more at peace as I have gotten older, maybe as I've matured, hopefully, of being okay with seasons. Now, it's hard on it's hard to see humanity often fall into a season forever. And it's an endless season. I was just with my daughter, Eliza, who helps produce these shows today. And she's talking about going off and adventuring and experiencing some other places. But she said, I don't want to be at a place where the weather never changes. She was thinking about Florida, or we talked about Southern California. She said, she so enjoys the seasons. And I get that. Nothing against somebody who lives in those places that don't have as many seasons, but she's used to that and she likes that. And I do too. And I've, in personal development, especially, I often get to thinking, okay, I got to establish the perfect day, right? I got to do my devotions in the morning, spend my time thinking and dwelling on, my faith and my desires and my plans for the day. And I've got to, exercise. I've got to do work. I've got to do family time. I've got to do X, Y, Z, and create the perfect day, and then just do it over and over and over. And I just find myself I get tired of stuff and I just want to change. Lately, here's an odd one. Lately, I have not been in my Bible. I just found that it was feeling like drudgery, which can sound blasphemous to some people. I adore my aspects of the Bible, but I've let it go. Doesn't mean that I'm not pursuing my faith in other ways, but I let it go and I'm okay with that. I've let go of journaling sometimes. I seldom let go of exercise because I just feel so good when I do it. My diet right now, it's the holidays. And have I let go to some degrees? Man, I am just having fun. We got family. We've got 13 people at the house tonight. And I just enjoy it. And I've gone through times of being motivated to abstain, even during festive time. And I do pay attention to my spirit there. But looking again at cycles of being able to let go, even though I mentioned, exercise and outdoor activities, I'll go through periods of doing a lot of weightlifting, and then I'll go through a long time and not. And when I'll go through time of weightlifting and let off the cardio and stuff like that. But again, just being okay with seasons and realizing we've had a lot of people, a lot of leaders in recent years I've talked with who talk against the concept of balance, and they say it's impossible. And there's some semantics in that and how you perceive, balance. I mean, overall through a given day or a given week, I don't want to be out of balance and never connect with my wife or with my kids or with my health and wellness or with my faith or with my work in general. But there's going to be days, man, where I just can something, and maybe days in a row where I don't do some of those things, and I'm not perfectly in balance every day. Hopefully over a span of time, a week, a month, a year, I want to see that there was relevant, balance. Susie Kidd, she said desire. And I just responded, for what? And she said that I had the desire to do my best, to be my best and bring joy to those around me. I retired last year from a very stressful job in juvenile justice. I now work full-time doing a job that's amazing. I wake up and go to bed mentally and emotionally available for my family. The desire to be my best drives me to the gym, on my runs or on my bike, to have a cheerful attitude in my daily tasks and in my volunteer work with the Boy Scouts of America program. Time is short and smiles are free. At the end of the day, I can sleep knowing I did my best. That was interesting, her talking about a stressful job, and now she's in one that she likes. And, desire, to really foster desire, as I pondered that, we need space. We need freedom from constraints. We need freedom from stress. So she's in a stressful job. It's so hard to cultivate desire when you are busy, when you are stressed, when there's anxiety, worry, fear, those things. Desire needs some space. Again, talking not to just hold it out as the only holy grail, but thinking about time in the mornings. About that's sometimes just the best. I mean, guys, I don't like super early mornings, but sometimes, depending on the family schedule, it's just the only time I know that I can get time alone. So again, I sometimes don't want to hold something up as the end all. It's just statistically, a good time, but that's a time to have that freedom, that space for desire. Though interestingly, I realize again, experientially with myself and with walking with so many others over the decades, that sometimes it takes pain to birth desire. I don't know Susie's job of retiring, or her story from a stressful job and going into something, something better. But I hear so many people, and it is the pain that they experience that births the desire, births it. But I don't often see it growing well amidst that pain. So again, I think it's just something for us to keep tabs on, or to be aware of, that right now, if we're hearing this show and we're listening to other positive input and information, and we're wanting to grow our desire, to pursue our desire, if we are in a place of pain, it's very hard. Sometimes we need to address that and getting out of the pain. I've had people in my past, when I did a lot of coaching and consulting, where they're trying to do something and came to a point of going, you know what, just stop. Let's put the brakes on. You're trying to build this thing, to pursue this thing, to go after this good thing, but you're so handicapped by the pain you're in. Let's deal with that. I'll never forget one guy who, he was just in a job. We said, we need to get you in another job before you go after this great thing, which was a business that he wanted to start building. But I said, here you are in a bad job. You want to build this business, but there's just not enough space, not enough margin. And there's so much pain right now. We need to get you, let's just find a better job, even if it pays less or whatever, but it's just something where you can take a deep breath. It's not as toxic or taxing and whatnot, and give you some space to then go after that desire. So it's a good thing for you guys to think about, for all of us, that if we're wanting to grow desire, we probably need to check how much pain we're currently in, even if that pain is the thing that birthed that desire. Sean Langwell, he said, here's what he views as a fourth piece, and our fourth option. Each of these, what I wrote, duty, pain, desire, assume folks are driven to perform at some level. The fourth, I feel more often than I care to admit, is apathy and laziness, though I guess that could fall under duty, because many days I get up because I have to. Well, right after that, guy named Jim Heatherton responded. He said, Kevin, Zig Ziglar said, and he must listen to the Ziglar show. He says, I agree. There's no such thing as a lazy person. They're either sick in mind or body, let's say compromised in mind or body, or both, or uninspired and lacking in motivation. And I don't want anybody to hear that with any, condemnation there, but that is interesting when you hear people that say, I'm lazy. When I thought about what Jim wrote there, I thought, yeah, what I find is they just don't have any desire. They're lacking motive. So maybe it's relevant to take, if you have that label, you're concerned that, gosh, I struggle with being just lazy, to think, I don't know if anybody's actually lazy. That's an interesting thought, but they're just lacking a reason, lacking a motive. I've seen that with my kids through different times, where I feel like, gosh, they're just so lazy. Well, no, they're not, because I'll see them find something they're interested in, and they are all in. So when they're lazy, that's just a label that we've given, a result of a lack of motivation. I think is a relevant way to look at that. And, to look and say, for a lot of people, if you're struggling with lazy, that there's not enough pain. There's an old story that's been told a billion times. So forgive me if you've heard that, but a farmer comes over to talk to his buddy, and they're standing near the front porch. And he says, man, why is your dog over there on the porch whining constantly? Farmer says, it's probably laying on a nail. The other guy says, well, why doesn't he get off? Farmer says, it must not hurt enough. How it's just a pithy little, but very profound analogy of so many of us. There's the perspective of, we're such a reactionary, again, going to pain. We react to things, and we want to not be reactive, but to healthfully respond, to be proactive. But again, that usually happens with time, and not when you're in severe pain as well. Danica Treble, she said, desire. The world needs hope and encouragement and joy now more than ever. People need to hear positivity and truth. And hope and encouragement. She talks about hope and encouragement. Those foster desire, which is the reason for getting, you want to grow desire, get good input. The more good input, the more it grows. And I have seen people, I used to get frustrated with people's lack of action in what I felt like was an appropriate time. And back when I had Free Agent Academy, this membership to help people pursue self-employment, I had times of realizing, oh my gosh, we've been taking this person's money. It was generally 98 to 125 bucks a month or something in that range that I charged, and realize that 6 months have gone on. I'm taking somebody's money, and I have not heard from them. They haven't participated in the online group. I haven't heard from them at all. And I felt guilty, one. And two, I was frustrated that, come on, I knew what they want. I knew their story, and why aren't they doing that? And I would push them. I even got to the point of canceling people's memberships. That's another business story of good idealism, errant business practices, but came from a good heart. And then it took so long to realize that, after 3 years, to see somebody all of a sudden, and I had these people, and it seems like a rash of people. I don't remember the timeline, but people say, Kevin, I've been here. I've been lurking for years. That word came up, lurking, or I've been in the background, and now it's time. And there's usually some catalyst, but what I realized is all this time they were getting hope and encouragement. It was keeping it was keeping things alive, keeping that desire alive. And then finally it took root, or something changed to make it the right time for them. And I learned to trust people's own timelines and the process that I can't put a timeline on. It's helped me have grace for myself in the same area. Sarah Brown, she said, desire, the possibilities and potential that I have going right now far outweigh my current sacrifices, even though my current sacrifices could cause a lot of pain short term. And my brother, Jared Angaza, truly my brother, changed his last name because of a neat story for him. But he talked about that, and I wish I could paraphrase it, but he talked about being held back by his pain until his desire for something just helped him overcome it. And I've talked about this in past shows. Overcome, meaning he was able to move past it, didn't mean he eradicated it. And his statement said something to that aspect, that I didn't get rid of the pain. I couldn't get rid of the pain. I couldn't alleviate it. I couldn't eradicate it, but my desire to do XYZ got so big, I was able to move past my pain anyways, or move in spite of it, maybe move with it, take it with him, but go and do that anyways. So I appreciate her saying the possibilities and potential that I have going right now far outweigh my current sacrifices. So I'm putting in there, my current pain as well. Alan Thomas. I know Alan. He said, Kevin, it's all three for me. Duty. He says, I believe the gift I received when I escaped, quick story. So this is a business guy and done some things. He became overweight, lost a bunch of weight, and now he is as passionate as you could be about helping others. So he says, duty. I believe the gift I received when I escaped obesity is so urgently needed that I must get my message out. Pain. It breaks my heart when I am positive I can walk an obese man through the wilderness of obesity to his ideal weight, and he just doesn't understand how much it's costing him. 3, desire. Knowing all of the cost of obesity wakes me up early and keeps me up late. If I can reach one more, that fires me up. It's a burning desire. I just appreciate that he saw ultimately it's his desire, his passion, his purpose, but he's able to see it in all 3 ways. And I really like that, because as I think about that, man, do I have the duty of being a father? Sure. Do I have pain in regards to the pain of wanting to be a good father? Yeah. Do I have desire in my father? Yeah, I can put all the things, each area of value. Let's just say that you put your values. That I think it's a great exercise, and I didn't think about it till Alan wrote it, which is why I included it. Great exercise to take the areas you value, and do you have duty in them? Do you have pain? Do you have desire? And I like those. I've talked so much in past months, years, I guess, about, you hear so much about working at your passions. And I often have felt like some of the things that I went after, it was a burden is the word that I used. And then I talked about this in other shows. I can't even remember which podcast, about John O'Leary, this guy who burned himself over, or as a kid, over most of his body. and Sam Collier. So two personalities, and they talk about what's that thing that breaks your heart. And I tend to think about that. I look out and go, oh, and I want to help in that area. I want to lift people up, in that area. So, is that a pain, a desire, a duty? I mean, I can break it down into all three of those. So I appreciate him saying that. Nate Schwartzentruber, he says, it's an amazing subject. When I first went into the workforce of my chosen profession, I was trying to do my best, but also to gain the approval of my boss. He was the one who motivated, he has that in quotes, through fear and intimidation. It took a long time to rearrange my thinking to something more positive. So that's interesting to look at he's looking at a pain and looking at a poor aspect of motivation, which we see in the workplace. A lot are with people in authority, I should say. And it's great to see his awareness. I know Nate Schwartzentruber, we have some relational connection. Schwartzentruber, that is a Mennonite name right there. That's my background. Kent Burr, I think it's Burr, and he says absolute duty. It's all he wrote, and I included it because I know that Kent has been communicating with me for a long time. He has a business, and it's doing, it's going along well, but he is not enjoying it, and he's struggling with that. And so it doesn't surprise me that right now he sees duty as the primary thing. Mason Bassick says, basically it's a daily allowance of all three. That's the trifecta that provides balance. For example, I get up and go to work. I find time to address anything holding us back. But when I get home, I get to play with kiddos, play piano, cook food with my wife, and enjoy the things that make life desirable. It's interesting when we look at that. Parenting especially can sometimes be a tension of duty, a glorious duty. You think about people. I've known a lot of guys, in the military, and they're proud of that duty. They're proud to have that duty, or I could say, first responders or whatnot. They're firemen, policemen, whatever, and they're proud of the duty to serve. And we can be proud of the duty. I know a lot, proud of the duty of parenting, and also plenty that feel begrudgingly towards that duty of having to get up every day. And you know what? We're human, and I have done both. I mean, my gosh, as a father, in every role I've ever had, I have gone through times or have the propensity to, on a given day when I don't have my attitude in check, to look at that duty valiantly or, again, begrudgingly. And man, I have to take that captive sometimes. I've definitely gone through times with my family of trying to be Superman, trying to be too much in control with a Superman complex, and burning myself out. And I'm being a martyr, and I'm burning out with that duty, as opposed to being grateful and going, oh my gosh, seriously, I'm irritated having to take care of that kid. I know people who would give anything to have a child. They would have anything to be a parent. And I'm sitting here, and I know that that's not fair and it's an exaggerated perspective, but there are some things I need to do sometimes to change my paradigm. And I often need to realize that I am doing it unhealthfully like that. And I've done that. It's been too much of my role in my family, is trying to be everything, trying to be the hero, and I burn myself out, and I become embittered by that. And I have to back up. And I am so less controlling than I used to be, which I don't know where that puts me on the scale. Maybe I was a 10 and now I'm better as an 8. Maybe I was an 8 and I'm better at a 4. I don't know. I do know that I'm much more at peace. I'm much happier as a father. And I mentioned the organization that I grew back in early and mid 2000, Free Agent Academy. It was a business that succeeded. All these people joined. Great stories, great memories, great friends, great connections. I burnt myself out and ultimately stopped the business. And it was my fault. And it was just that. It was taking that duty that it was valiant and taking it too far, and trying to be responsible for and in control of far more than I could and far more than I should. And I just didn't know it. I was just unaware. It's part of why I host the Motive Show, that there's a book in the works with these topics and this understanding in there, because it's part of my story that I'm grateful for what I've learned, but boy, I did some things that were just not best for me and others. Don McCallum here, he says, usually at night, I feel regret that I'm alone. In the morning, same thing, though I hope that in the new day, God will provide a woman for me. I'm not talking about a one night thing, but a woman of character and faith so I can get married again. I am divorced. That's a good equal pain and desire. And again, we're back to that pain and desire can often work so hand in hand. Brad here, he says three, desire and the belief that those things will come true. God says good things come to those who believe, not those who just work hard or those who just try hard, but those who actually believe. Marian Golden, she says, I've been in a place of duty and in a place of pain, but it always took the desire and belief that I could overcome those struggles to achieve my goals. So much. Again, this is such a conversation just to be thinking about these aspects. How do we view duty? How do we view pain? How do we view desire? And I want to end just by talking about pain a little bit. I mean, pain is, it's a needed alert. Pain is there. It's like there's a disease, I can't remember what it's called, where you don't really don't have feelings in your nerves. You can get injured and not know it. Think about if you're if you're numb, you can get cut and not know it. It's huge. It's incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous. Actually, matter of fact, is that what leprosy is? Maybe has some of those aspects of it too. But pain it's great that we feel pain. I'll never forget telling my buddy Randy James, my doctor, my friend, my business partner, and co-host of the True Life Show, one of my other podcasts. And I was complaining to him it was actually about getting head rushes. I said, man, I stay so hydrated. I said, I have to. If I don't stay hydrated when I stand up, I get head rushes. I said, that's irritating because I see other people not in good shape, not pursuing the health and wellness, and they don't seem to have any problems with that. It was something along those lines. Okay. So, nothing critical, kind of a benign thing. But he says, well, hey, what a gift that your body's that sensitive. It should be. That's your body telling you, keeping kind of a barometer. And telling you what to do, and it keeps you drinking. How good, speaking of that, I'm gonna take a drink. How great is that? It's a blessing of pain. Totally put a different spin on that. And that's a topic we'll talk about more another time, but I've grown to realize I want to be sensitive. I want to be sensitive. I want to be sensitive to my body, to my emotions, to life, to other people. I want to be more sensitive. We get this man thing of, nothing touches us or bothers us. Well, I don't want to be that. It was like, here, I want to be sensitive to pain and pay attention to it. When one of the Ziegler shows that I did with Tom Ziegler, and he talked about a study that was done, and they talked about goals. And in this, because goals, I mean, my gosh, personal development, self-help, that's what goals, man, that's the holy grail, right? I mean, Ziegler, that was, goals. That was the thing. They did this study and found out that 80%, well, let's say only 20% of people really respond to goals, which we can put in this sense, desire. Okay. They 80% respond to solving a problem. And I'm going to put that a little bit in the pain category. That again, that's what so often drives us. That's what we respond to. That's okay. But we need to look at the pain that we're in and consider the health of it, the meaning of it, and what we should do about it. I mean, sometimes we have pain, and it's a pain that is there to refine us. There's goodness in it. We need to endure that. Some of it we can't get away from. You have the pain of the death of a loved one. It can take you out, but you can't eradicate that. You can, though, become stronger, wiser, more patient, more tolerant. I mean, there's things that you can do, and you're going to have to endure that. Hopefully you can endure that, healthfully. But to look at pain, I've seen a lot of people in bad workplaces, to go back to that, and they're in pain, and they're thinking, we've gotten to the place now where we just expect that, work is pain, right? Life is pain, Highness. That was Princess Bride. Anyone who tells you differently is selling something. Good line from Princess Bride. Family favorite movie. Well, one of mine. But, pain, we can endure it, but we need to look at it. And so people will often be in a place of employment, and they'll just suck it up and try to endure that forever. I just don't see good things. I mean, again, if you are in a place of survival and you're enduring whatever you have to do to put food on the table, keep a roof over your head or your families, that is great for a time. Don't embrace that forever. And that is an issue of pain. When people embrace it, it's generally a red flag. Again, a lot of people out there, I'm talking to somebody right now who's enduring chronic pain they can't get rid of. It's great that you are enduring it, but when I see people embrace it, they usually get worse. Things get worse. So is it a pain to endure? Is it a pain to alert you of something that needs to change and you need to alleviate it? And, you know, looking at that though, I'm going to go to the other side because in my life, it's hard to even unpack a little bit because pain, my gosh, I was a professional cyclist. Talk about embracing pain. Okay. That was a good way to embrace pain. And again, I'm going to kind of go round circle on this. That was a good place to embrace pain, but and I'll see guys do that. Guys, I'm going to pick on them. They'll embrace physical pain, hardship, be the hero and embrace pain there. But emotionally, no way, man. I'm not touching that pain. That's been me. I'm not doing conflict. I don't want to have that hard conversation. And I know I'm putting that label on men. That's not fair. It's personality types as well. But I'm gonna paint with a broad brush, which is what I usually do. And there's areas where we'll embrace pain, and maybe that's even good in some ways, but we'll avoid it elsewhere. I know that in life circumstances, have often been too quick to run from pain and to leave it. If I'm in a business, I had a business back in the early 2000s that we founded, and it succeeded and it was making money. And I went into a meeting with some bankers, and we doubled our revenue in one meeting. And I walked out and I told my partner I was gone. I'm out, because I didn't see any heart in it. I didn't care about just the money, yada, yada. I regret that. I wish I had endured some pain of not being in the most passionate, purposeful business ever and made some money. If I'd have stuck with it another year, probably would have established it enough that I could have walked away with legit founder shares and a lot of money. Instead, I walked away with founder shares, but the business faltered because it was too early on for me to leave. And I lost it. I wish I hadn't jumped that quick. But again, the point is understanding the pain. I just got a book given to me called The Problem of Pain by C.S. Lewis. And in that, he's talking from a faith-based standpoint, but it's relevant for all of humanity. But, he says if God is, he hits on the issue of if God is good and all powerful, why does he allow his creatures to suffer pain? And if you want to get deep into this, into pain, go read the book. But again, the point is to look at the pain and discern it and go, is this helping me or is this just hurting me? Do I need to endure this? Is this an alert that something needs to change? And then be really careful to see, have I embraced it? Because that's usually going to be your downfall. So same thing. Where do you feel like you have duty? How are you defining the duty? Where do you feel like you have desire? Defining that, being aware. But, at the end of the day, knowing what is a primary driver for you. So friends, maybe think about a brief journaling session to write down duty and desire and pain, and think about what your waking or heading to bed mindset is. What is most prominent? This is important work in knowing whether you like and agree with what is driving you, if you're in alignment. Coming up in episode 13 of the Motive Podcast, I bring you actor Matthew Del Negro, who has had roles in TV shows such as The Sopranos and Scandal and West Wing, and most recently, Showtime's City on a Hill, opposite Kevin Bacon. Or actually, I don't know if that just happened, or I think that may be coming up in the next season. He's opposite Kevin Bacon. So he's just come out with this book titled 10,000 No's: How to Overcome Rejection on the Way to Your Yes. Here is a true celebrity talking about overcoming rejection, and I want to know why. That's why we're doing the show. I want to know why. What were the motives that drove him to keep going and now build a platform around overcoming? Well, folks, here's to you getting clear on what you truly want by fully understanding and agreeing with your motives for wanting it.